We have an example of someone who successfully managed to make their side hustle a full-time income and live a very good life on their side hustle. We're going to cover someone called CGA, Coach Greg Adams. He makes some content online as a content creator. He's worked as a personal fitness trainer, which he does on the side. And he does various other kind of life coaching type services for people. Now, he's a very interesting personality, which we're going to cover in this video. And what he's managed to do is build a high income for himself. He lives in Las Vegas. He grew up most of his life in California. He started off as coaching kids to, play basketball as like a high school coach college basketball. And he moved that into personal fitness training, life coaching and things like that, and now he lives a good life for himself. Despite having major setbacks, which we'll cover in this video, he dealt with a terrible divorce that cost him a lot of money and made him homeless for some time, but he managed to go from poverty to having a Porsche and living a good life. It's a very inspirational story, and it's a key lesson for many men out there who are dealing with lots of demoralization and negative feedback from society and demotivating content from this society about what can happen when, as a man, even in dire circumstances where you're and you've maybe dealt with a bad divorce and things like that, how you can go from being broke to making it big and recovering from that effectively is kind of inspirational and aspirational for people. And it's very important for many people out there, because lots of people tend to give up at later life, how you can reset your life and overcome this adversity, whether it's a layoff, which many people are dealing with right now, and reorganize your life in a much more structured, organized way.
I lived in my car. I'm not ashamed to say it. And I'm happy to tell you that I actually made that decision in my life. He set the direction that I was going. It's not the way I wanted to do. And I found out in my mid-30s that I needed to travel a different path. I wanted to go a different way. In order to do that, I had to lose a lot of things. I had to give up the things that made me comfortable. That's how it is.
So firstly, just a quick point there. See, as you mentioned, living in his car, it was in his mid-30s when he was going through this divorce and he lost significant amounts of money. And when a lot of men do deal with these divorces and they lose a lot of money, of course, they get no sympathy or favorable treatment from society. That all goes to the woman, regardless of how bad she was behaving in the... And there's that men financially, they'll go from owning a house to being kicked out of their own home so the woman can live there with the kids. And they might live in a one-bedroom apartment. They might have a kind of low quality car that they're driving, and they're basically in survival mode, relying on, noodles and instant noodles and whatever cheap food they can buy, peanut butter, jelly sandwiches, things like that. So this system really can push people to the point of destruction, right? And you see some men who are dealing with this. And what's important here is he changed his life around in his mid-30s. Now, lots of people say, oh, life is over at 30, in the sense that whatever path you're on, whatever career path you're on at your early 30s, that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. But really, you can change your life. It's not really you're stuck on this one trajectory for the rest of your life. Life is not stuck forever at that old trajectory. And the system gives you terrible life planning advice about making life changes because it wants to keep you stuck in a particular position. So you should be comfortable with compromising comfort for conquest, right? So what am I referring to here? Conquest in terms of achieving your goals, right? Because lots of people get stuck with a particular life path and they're stuck with it forever. So let's keep listening to Coach Greg Adams, who's a great source of inspiration for a lot of us.
Adversity, and then reset their life. So what people will do is they'll keep continuing on the same track. And if that track leads to failure, they never really adjust and they stay on the path of failure. All right. So the next 5 years or 10 years will be more failure and more for them to overcome. Let me show you something right here. So as you can see, my 911, this place right here is where I decided to reset my life. I restarted everything from scratch. I left my career, unfortunately, lost my family in the process, and I started my own business. This is the principle of the other thing that I tell you. There's no deficit that you can never overcome. In this lot, I used to park my car for 6 months. That's over 180 days. I parked my car there, and that was my home. That was where I lived in my car. It was a Ford Explorer. It was a wonderful thing. It was a great experience, but I chose this place because it's pretty secluded, all right? There's not a lot of traffic around here. It's a hotel parking lot, and it also had free Wi-Fi. So that was one of the reasons why I stayed here. And I can use my iPad and my phone to basically do researches or anything. Like I could keep track of my clients, and I could watch movies on my iPad for free. Other hotel parking lot, they had secured Wi-Fi, so I couldn't park in their parking lot.
So this is an important point he's mentioning here, right? People get stuck in their old ways, they get stuck in a life routine, they forget that they really can change their life around. And many people, you need a major reset. Many people have that. I had that moment when I decided I was on a particular career path, but I wanted to help people. And that's why I have this channel. I have a career advice service. The link's in the description where I can help you make those major life changes. And this is an important point. In 6 to 12 months, you really can change your life around. There's this content creator, but there's also another content creator that some of you may remember. His name is Chris Cantu. I don't know if people know that, in the MGTOW, men kind of going and doing their own thing type of space. He actually did a similar thing. He was working in a high-paying tech job. He was finding it quite unfulfilling. And people might say, oh, he had a midlife crisis like Coach Greg Adams. But it's really like a changing your life around at halfway through your life, right? And many people go through this. I don't think that's necessarily a state of crisis. And Chris Cantu, like Coach Greg Adams, lived in their car, lived in their own cars, different situations, and they kind of save their money, invested their money, and find different income sources and kind of change their life around. I know that sounds crazy because you think living in your car, that's kind of crazy. It's like hitting rock bottom. But many people do change their life around from that. It's really like, how attached are you to other people's perception of yourself? If you really think down on yourself because other people think you're living in a car, it's not really the worst thing in the world. You can use the gym to shower. You can use free Wi-Fi to use your laptop and your... If you don't feel sorry for yourself and you keep working on a plan, things will work out. In his case, he was a fitness coach. And I think there is something to be said about keeping your struggles or your challenges low key and not discussing them with other people, because other people's judgment will cloud, right? So don't get caught up in other people's judgment, because if they're judging you and they're saying, oh, you're living in your car, you don't really have to that you're living in a car. You don't have to mention that to co-workers. You could just say, oh, you're living in a particular part of the town or city, and then you can just live life on your terms, because like I say, no one really has to know what's going on in your life. So many people I know there's cases where someone who works in tech in Silicon Valley, there's an electrician who lived in Jersey and Florida in their car. And what they would do, they might be living in a high cost of living location, but they live in their car, they save their money, and effectively they retire early, or they have significant amount of investments quite early on in life because they didn't dedicate their entire life to just paying for a massive house, that high cost of living, massive house or massive rental costs in a city they didn't want to be in for their life, or they decided to have a small rental property. They didn't care about social status. Their entire goal was retiring early. And that's in some way sense like similar to me. I am kind of focused on, I live in a relatively small 1-bedroom apartment, and people might think, oh, at this stage in my life, maybe I should be buying a big house. Maybe I should be focusing on climbing the corporate ladder and going from director. I've worked at director level at major investment banks. Oh, I have to be chasing the managing director role. But, you got to really plan your life out for what you want and live life on your terms. Getting into more debt, buying a big house rather than living in a car or a smaller property like myself. Getting into more debt, it's really a trap. Debt and social climbing really is a trap, right? So debt is a trap because maybe you buy a big house and you have a massive mortgage, then you have to be committed to your high-paying job to pay off that mortgage. And that effectively puts you in that kind of state where you put up with more and more circumstances you don't actually want to endure, with toxic managers, toxic co-workers, and maybe dealing with a layoff and then not being able to pay for your mortgage. So having like less debt is obviously a good thing. And then also social climbing is a trap, because if you're thinking, oh, I'm not willing to make for 6 to 12 months, maybe in my car, or to have really low living standards, you want to climb the social ladder, you want to buy expensive clothes, expensive cars and houses and things like that. That effectively becomes a trap. You let other people define your sense of success, define how you are living your life and what your future life plans are. And you become more and more entrenched in that, because once you buy a big property, you have to pay off that mortgage for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. You have to buy that expensive car. That's a cost. These costs become long-term life commitments rather than you being able to move quite swiftly and quickly based on your life goals. So that's something to really bear in mind. Living life on your terms, not letting people judge you, and in the end, you can live these kind of unique life circumstances that Coach Greg Adams has with his own Porsche, and living life after divorce in quite a prosperous way. Financially wealthy after a divorce isn't that common, particularly given how divorce courts treat men.
Oh, and I would sleep there at night. All right, and my goal in that entire time, I was manifesting this car. I knew I would have it. I was like, I'm gonna manifest prosperity. I'm gonna manifest success. And the reason I'm gonna do that is because I believe in the reset of my life. I believe that I'm gonna start a business and I'm gonna be successful at it. And so far, so good. But I like the idea of teaching people that there's no deficit that you can overcome. There's nothing that you have in your life, no failure, no economic condition, no lack of understanding, no lack of information that you can't overcome in this life. So this is what I like to do. I like to take the place that I am in my life, come back and take a point where I'm successful, and then I erase the past that was the failure. So I used to park right in my car, and now I'm going to take my new car of where I am, and I'm going to erase all of that by parking it right there. And now
this is very inspirational, right? So I let that clip run for a bit longer than I intended. But what it is the power of manifestation. And I know manifesting, law of attraction, power of positive thinking, it can sound a bit fairy, power of visualization, visualizing your future. But I think you should do that. The life you live and what you attract towards yourself is linked to what you focus on. If you're around negative people, you're going to have a negative, you know, there is some truth to that. It's maybe a bit of it is new age philosophy, but there is some truth to that. You know, focusing on prosperity, success, having a positive mindset, just visualizing the life you want, whatever it is, and just generally focusing on moving in that direction. There is something to be said to that. And sometimes just in my thought process, regardless of how far away a particular goal might feel, I just meditate on it. I just think about it. Oh, you know what? I want to, like some of the goals I have, maybe to live in a different location, to have certain clothing, maybe a tailored suit, things like that. Do little small things like that I'm gonna work towards in the right time frame. I just think about that, you know, the same way I'm sure he thought about a Porsche while he was living in his car, that, oh, maybe it'd be good to get that. There's nothing wrong with having that aspiration. This system always wants small and think realistic and things like that. And you shouldn't let the past impact you now. For example, in this circumstances, he's talking about wiping away the past. You shouldn't let like verbally abusive managers or toxic co-workers, parents, negative relationships impact you and constrain you, right, and keep you in a particular box. Co-workers and managers, they want to put you in a box. They don't want to let you to be free. And that's why I think men in particular in the office, particularly now with the political correctness and things like that, you live in such a tightly constrained box. Can't do that, got to look like this, got to wear clothes like this, got to talk like this. And it's not helping you prosper. It's constraining you, and you want to escape that. And that's what these type of solutions do provide. And this is an inspiring story that you could use to your own inspiration to achieve your own goals, right? And you should think about what your fulfillment is, not what to impress other people.
Go to a couple of film locations. The first point of this, you want. You really have to know what you want. If you're going to hem and haw and you're not going to develop your life plan, you're going to mess up. Don't let other people tell you where you should be going. You have to have a clear indication of what you want. That's going to be the secret. Now, check this out. How masculine do I look drinking?
So that's quite a funny clip there, right? You got to know what you want. And many people don't have a vision, right? Whether you have a vision board of things you want, it's very important to do that. And one thing I would say, if you do have a vision board of what you want in life, make sure you might have longer term goals. You know, some people want to buy a sports car, buy a big house, things like that. But think about the next 6 to 12 months. What goal do you want to achieve in the next 6 months, the next 12 months? And put some of that on your vision board rather than far out goals. In 6 months, you want to, for example, within the next 6 months, I want to have 10,000 YouTube subscribers. I want to be actively working with more clients. I've got certain specific numbers I want to hit. And even if I don't hit those goals, I'm still going to keep pushing for those. So I might as well motivate myself by having those goals. And that's the same thing for you, whatever it was. If you want to have a wife and 2 kids, then you should actively just be pushing in that direction. It might not work out immediately, but doing that is better than not doing, right? So you got to know what you want, have a clear vision to escape corporations, to get your finances in order. And also, the way this system works, if you notice, there is a lot of mind control and manufacturing narratives with the media, men being bad, women being good, you know, whatever type of ideology you want to focus on, right? The same way the system manufactures narratives, you have to manufacture your reality, right? So focus on manufacturing narratives for yourself that are going to help you, that you're a good person, that you're competent, that you're able to achieve your goals. The same way the media or the finance industry does with manufacturing false narratives. You can manufacture positive narratives about yourself to push yourself in the right direction.
I prepared food for the week so I can eat. All right, we'll take you to the gas station probably another time. But what I did in this park, and over the years it's changed quite a bit. They used to have an overhang here and some barbecues. They had open barbecues that you can use. But I brought a little hibachi, and that I kept in a storage unit when it was time to prepare my food. So on Sundays, I would go to the grocery store and I would get chicken breast, I would get 2 New York strip steaks, and then Hillshire Farm sausages. All right, and my treat was the steaks. And so what I would do is I would buy all that meat, I would come here, and I would light up my grill, and I would have charcoal and all that stuff that I would buy, and then I would cook all of that food for the week. And I had plastic containers and silverware, and I would cook the meat, chop it all up right here, and put it in separate containers for the week.
So this is quite interesting, right? Because most people wouldn't make this sacrifice. They'd be like, no, I have to live a particular standard of life. If you're really committed, and there is something to be said with the stronger your vision, the more you're willing to kind of divert from the conventional life. If you have a really strong vision for your life, you can easily circumvent the kind of traditional career path, right? So if your vision is stronger than the traditional career path, you can really push it in the direction you want to move in, right? So here he's doing things, like I said, living homeless in his car, cooking in a park. You know, some parks have the ability where you can cook some food, using the storage units to cook for a week, saving money. Many people live in their own home and have a lot of free time, and they don't even make the time to cook their own food to save money, right? So this is how you can make something out of nothing, literally. You can use, free resources around you. And a lot of you know, the taxes that are increasing, the government's wasting your money on foreign conflicts. Really use all the resources around you. Like there's times in my life where I wouldn't use, the lots of some public facilities. I just didn't want to be there. But now I make full use of it. I'm paying a lot of money for it. I might as well use that as much as I can. You can literally, learn from these small stories and have it benefit you and develop the life you want to build for yourself. Some of the sacrifices he's mentioning here is sacrifices I've made similar to myself, right? Where you see me right now, I'm at my desk and I'm in my lounge area. And to make space for this desk and my kind of work setup here, to have this business as a career coach, I sold my dining table, I sold my sofa, not necessarily for the money, because I needed the space, because I live in quite a compact 1-bedroom apartment. So that's some sacrifices people wouldn't make. People would say, how do you have a lounge area without a sofa? How do you have a space without a dining room? Like, where do you eat your food? I eat my food at this desk, right? And I know these just sound like small things, but lots of people, this is crazy. Behind me, typically I have a whiteboard with like my plans of what I'm going to do. And this is in my lounge area. I technically don't have a lounge. I use like half my lounge for this kind of home office, and the other half is like kind of storage space for some of my belongings, right? It's not a lounge area. If a guest came here, it wouldn't be really a friendly area for them to be, right? We have some seats. I don't have a sofa, so they could use a normal chair. I have a TV on a stand that I kind of don't even use because I just use my laptop. So these are the type of things I want you to kind of really think about. What are the small changes you can make, even if you're living in a rental property? How can you turn that into your kind of, your workspace? Not to say everything has to be about work, but it's little changes and sacrifices like that can really, change your life around.
Here, but I want you to check this out. What has changed in the last 10 years? All of these bushes right here, I used to be able to walk through this because on the other, it's like a trash can over there. And if it was late at night and I had to piss, I would either have to wait till somebody pulled in the parking lot to open that door so I can run and get to the bathroom. But if nobody showed up, I used to go on the other side of that trash can and piss. But those are the stories, man, that you remember. I remember all of that stuff. So when you see a person in a successful position and they finally got there, you might think that they had advantages, they had opportunities that you didn't have. But in reality, there's a lot of people that have had success and they really overcame a lot of things that people aren't willing to overcome.
So this is a very important point here, right? So lots of people, they don't want to make those sacrifices, whether it's sacrificing some sleep. And what I would say to be a motivation to you and others is to focus on how you could be an inspiration for yourself. Maybe yourself from 5 years ago or yourself 5 years in the future. You have to be a friend to your future self and an inspiration to your previous self, right? So in the past, you might have been maybe in a worse financial situation than you are now, but you've worked towards that. And in the future, you want to be a friend to your future. For example, I know I want to live a slightly slower paced lifestyle, still achieve my goals and, do various things I want to do, but I don't like this kind of fast-paced lifestyle that sometimes you have to live in this society. So I've got different goals I'm working on, and I want to be a friend to my future self by making sure what I'm doing now is going to benefit myself in the future. So I hope you found that useful. I hope you found that helpful, and you can learn from Coach Greg Adams, who's a great, kind of content creator. And you can learn from my experience too, and some of the sacrifices I'm making now, because I know 5-10 years down the line, all of these things are going to pay off. So think about where you are now, how you can build a life that actually pays off for you.